Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Mike Metcalf. I am the Interim Chief Officer for Academics and Student Support Services, and this is the third meeting of the Community Media and Technology Advisory Committee. This meeting is being live streamed, and the meetings of this committee are considered official meetings of a public body, must be publicly noticed and open to the public, and we have done that. I want to thank several people before we begin today. First, Kent Eklund, who is our technology support, is live streaming this. We appreciate his efforts very much. Donna Gephardt, who is our Director of Curriculum Instruction, who's done much of the coordination work for the meeting. Melody Thomas, who when we reached out to her at the beginning of this, agreed to be the chair for the committee. So thank you, Ms. Thomas, for agreeing to do that for us. And certainly want to thank all the members of the committee who now have given us 3 afternoons as we've talked through the issues of the committee. That being said, I will turn it over to Ms. Thomas and Ms. Gephardt.
All right, Ms. Thomas, you ready?
Yes. What we're going to do, so our goal today is to provide the recommendation about the reconsideration of the book George as part of the Union Pines High School Media Collections. Focus is on the Union Pines High School Media Collection. We're going to very briefly review the policy since we've looked at this before. So we know that this is the media and technology selection, the procedures, and we have the outline of the objectives, the criteria, the procedures for maintaining the collection, and then the procedures for the reconsideration of instructional resources. And we will specifically go through number 3 right before we begin the process of talking about Union Pines and the reconsideration.
All right, as Ms. Thomas mentioned, our focus today will be on Union Pines and having discussion around that. On December 15th, our complainant filed officially to have the book, have removal of George from Union Pines and McDeeds Creek. So the first official request talked about the complaint was, it's not the government's business to introduce children to transgenderism, sex changes, androgen blockers, cross-dressing, internet porn, or LGBTQ lifestyles. So on December 15th, this was then submitted to the schools for the schools to pull committees together due to we asked the schools to pull their committees together, giving them time to fully read the book in its entirety and to have a report to the interim chief officer by the 19th of January. So Union Pines team met, and this is the response to theirs. They met on January the 18th. You'll see they had the school media specialists, they had science department, EC department, arts department, history department, and an English department representative. They actually have given us information of the awards the book has received, of course, publication being Scholastic. The objections they have stated that were the objections of the complainant. So they have made sure that they address the complainant's concerns. Each member had read the book in its entirety. They actually had several resources they looked at. Of course, our Moore County policy that Ms. Thomas just went over about selecting library materials. The second thing that they had were the American Library Association's guidelines for selecting materials and professional standards of a librarian, and information that they knew they needed to follow. The third thing is the American Library Association Bill of Rights. They consulted, and we mentioned these several times last time. I just want to remind everybody that we had pulled these up about what is the Library Bill of Rights that helped inform their decision based on the policy. And the final piece was the school library journal review on the book. So they actually looked at the school library review journal on the book so that they had some reviews that they had actually gone outside of what they typically look at as a library committee. They recommended that this report is being made after reading, researching, and reviewing the novel. After examining the book from the high school perspective, George by Alex Yuno is age appropriate and supports diverse representation in the library collection. It is our recommendation that George by Alex Yuno should not be removed from Union Pines High School Library. Their justification is that the points objected to George are infrequent and not detailed, so they were referring to the claimant's views that they weren't detailed, that a majority of the book focuses on anti-bullying messages and self-discovering. Looking at the book as a whole, it presented a positive message and is age appropriate for high school students. They go on to talk about the diverse representation that George contributes to the school library's mission of providing diverse points of view, diverse home life situations, bullying, and the LGBTQ communities are represented in the work, and that there is an active LGBTQ club at Union Pines High School. They go on as another point of justification that the book is not a required reading. It is one that can be chosen freely for students. Students may return it if they dislike or find conflict with their value. And then they did talk about the Lexile level of the book, which is the readability of the book. Said George is a lower level reading for high school and is lower reading level than high school, and it is recommended for middle school libraries. However, the book addresses current issues and topics that are discussed by high school students. Many of the students read at lower level and need access to resources that are appropriate for their skill level and are high interest. So from the Union Pines report, when we received that, we took the Union Pines report and the McDeed's report, and we then sent that to the complainant in a letter on January 21st, which you have access to. And that resulted in the filing of the building level review recommendation. And we've looked at this several times. I just want to hit some key highlights. We've looked at the objections that he made, and I want to compliment everybody of the committee for addressing these as we were going through our last meeting. I know we had a lot of conversation about the clearing the browsers and porn. But these are the decisions, the aspects of the decisions for reviewing it were also the gender dysphoria does not address the diversity of needs, interests, and viewpoints of students. I do also want to point out that he does include additional information that this introducing them to internet porn and clearing the browsers is not really appropriate, and his grooming kids are because they're grooming kids because they are pedophiles and are grooming kids. They are teaching students about androgen blockers and sex before they're even taught the basic human body anatomy. Should be a crime. From there are excerpts of the book that have been pulled out, and I do want you to have a minute just to refer. I know y'all have read the book in its entirety, but these are some very specific excerpts. I want to give you a few minutes just to scan those excerpts as we get ready for our discussion.
Donna, can I just ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Does he give different excerpts from the book for high school? I know the question at the bottom of this says, how appropriate is this for elementary? Did he give additional quotes for high school?
No, ma'am. This was the only attachment.
Okay.
Besides the Common Sense Media, but this is the only excerpt that he pulled with still the question about elementary school. And again, the final documentation he gives is the Common Sense Media report about George and a parent's guide to the book about based on up to 5 circles. And you'll see the colored in portions there and the age recommendation of Common Sense Media for George. What it tells parents about the book George, what's in the story. So it outlines what's in the story for that it's about what one might find in the text. And then talk to your kids about, so Common Sense Media actually guides questions that we would hope parents, if they went here, would talk to their kids about those specific things. And you'll see there the publisher's recommendation of age 9 through 12, and the themes and topics. So as we did last time, Melody's going to remind us a few key pieces, and I'll drop the Padlet in the chat box, but I want to remind us that we are focused on addressing the complainant's concerns about the text. So Melody, if you'll remind us of our job.
So our goal is to examine the item in its entirety and the objections, to survey the reviews, and the reviews are the same of what we've looked at before, determine the extent to which the item supports the curriculum, weigh the merits against the alleged weaknesses, considering the whole item instead of isolated passages. And as we've done before, I want to make sure that everybody gets to voice any concerns that they have, any questions that they have. So we're going to begin with the Padlet, give everybody just 2 or 3 minutes if you would like to post anything in the Padlet. And then from there, we'll open up to discussion. We want to give everybody just a little bit of time to reflect and think.
I have put the Padlet link in the chat bar.
And Ms. Gephardt, if you don't mind, it looks like we do not have anything being added to the Padlet. So I think people either want to participate verbally or listen, but I do think we want to show the Padlet.
Oh, thank you. I hit the wrong. Let me stop sharing and I will reshare the right Padlet. There you go. That way, if anybody comments.
And so once again, if during the time that discussion is taking place, anybody wants to add to the Padlet, please do so, but we will go ahead and open up for discussion.
Donna, do we know how this book was selected for the Union Pines Media Center?
They actually went through their committee. It was purchased in April of 2021, and their committee chose to add this to the collection. I will also say that even though it was added in 2021 of April, it has not been checked out to date.
Thank you. You know, one of my concerns with our discussion around McBead's Creek, which obviously led to my vote, was that was a part of a big purchase of books as we opened that school. rather than going through the process of our normal selection process. So I hear you saying is that at Union Pines, it was through our normal selection process and review, which makes a difference for me. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And we have had a post in the Padlet, so I'm going to go ahead and read that one aloud. With there being an LGBTQ plus club at Union Pines, it would be fitting for there to be access for this book to be available to those students.
And again, I think it's important to note as we spent a little time going through the excerpts from the book that were pulled, I feel like it's important to note that anytime we take things out of context, it's hard to tell really what was going on. But a lot of those quotes that were pulled out, when you look at the context of surrounding what was pulled out, to me, it was not anything that would not be appropriate for a high school student.
And another comment has been added to the Padlet. This book would be appropriate for a high school student who might need a lower level, high interest book relevant to his or her own experiences. And then also another, George seems to be appropriate for a high school media center. It discusses relevant topics that high school students encounter. When considering the book as a whole, it is a book that needs to be available. As discussed, this was selected and reviewed for this specific school and the needs represented at this school. And then I believe the book's content is appropriate for high school students. Was another comment that was posted.
Just a quick question. Was there a parent member of this Union Pines review team? When I was looking at the list of names, I saw staff members, but I didn't see a parent.
They, based on the report, they did not include a parent or a student.
Okay, thank you.
They went with just their committee that is a sitting committee within the school. So that we talked about before, like Sean talked about the committee he had.
Another comment has been added to the Padlet. The quotes mentioned in the complaint were taken out of context. They could find more on a Google search. It does meet the needs of the diverse population of UPHS.
I would agree with that comment as well. I was looking it over and I was actually doing Google searches as well on this book. And everything that's in the complaint is actually reflected on any type of Google search that you would look at. I mean, you wouldn't even have to read the book in order to come up with that complaint. So I don't know how factual any of that, well, I do because I did read the book, know how factual that information is.
So as I've said in the other meetings, and that I do not in any way want to rush anybody in these decisions. That was pretty obvious since we spent an additional day discussing this on Tuesday. Did not move forward with a vote until really felt like people were ready. So we'll give another minute or two, but at that point, I think we can make the decision whether to move on with a vote or not. Okay, and another statement has been added. Yes, they can access any of this information online. However, that does not justify making it available in school libraries.
To that, sorry, to that comment, I would say it's available, but in Union Pines, it has not been checked out at all. So yes, they have access to it, but no one has chose to rent it out.
I want to give anybody a chance, if there's anybody who feels like we should not move on to a vote, for anybody to either say that now or add that to the Padlet if you would like for us to hold. I think we're ready for a vote.
I guess that's my cue. Thank you, Ms. Thomas. We'll do this the same way that we did as required. We'll do a voice vote. I'll just call out your name, and I think it's easiest to respond with either keep or remove, for lack of a better term. And we'll begin. Ms. Gephardt.
Keep.
Ms. Davis.
Keep.
Ms. Thomas.
Keep.
Ms. Blake.
Keep.
Ms. Purvis.
Keep.
Ms. Jones.
Keep.
Mr. Konsicki.
Keep.
Ms. Larviere.
Keep.
Sorry if I butchered your name there.
It's okay. It's my husband's fault.
I like that answer.
Ms. Newcomb.
Keep.
Ms. Sexton. I'm sorry, Ms. Sexton. Ms. White.
Keep.
Ms. Dugan.
Keep.
And I am a keep. That is 12-1 in favor of keeping.
I want to thank everybody for being here today. As we've said before at the beginning of the meeting, what we will do is finish compiling the report. The report will include information about both determinations. And then Ms. Gephardt, I just want to make sure that I'm correct on this. The report will be sent out, you said, in advance for everybody to look at, and then we will meet again on Tuesday.
And Ms. Thomas, I did pull it up since we have a few minutes. before we let everyone go, just so that you can see the format, we have started with the committee, who is responsible for being on the committee. We have put in the dates that we have met. We have also captured attendance each time for each of the days. We will add today's attendance.
Donna, did you want to show that? Were you planning on pulling that up?
Well, I do. Yes, I did. I forgot now over on the Padlet side. Thank you, Dr. Metcalf. Here I am talking away. Can you see our draft now? Perfect.
Yes.
And this is what we've titled it, the report on building level reconsideration. So we've got our dates, our committee members. We did feel like it was important to provide the timeline just so that it was clear of when things happened, that this committee was actually put together and has done amazing work. And I just want to echo what Ms. Thomas said. If you think about it, we were not even put together as a team until on the 7th, and we've moved very quickly, and that's because of your dedication and hard work. But this goes through the process and the outline of when things took place. And then we have put in the complainant's review, the complainant's request of why it should be removed as it was in the complaint. We've also cited the resources that we've used within that. So we used, of course, the McDeeds Committee report. We used the Union Pines Committee report. We used Common Sense Media, the policy. So we've outlined exactly what we've used. And then we will have from our team, you see the first part is the recommendation for McDeeds Creek, and then we'll have another section that will be recommendation for Union Pines. Based on the 9-3 vote on Tuesday, this committee stated that the book should remain in McDeeds Creek, and we'll have justification and comments that we'll want you to look over prior to the meeting, just to make sure we have accurately reflected your thoughts and your comments. So when you get the report, the Union Pines will reflect exactly as we did the McDeeds Creek. So you'll see our vote for Union Pines, and you'll see the justification for Union Pines. So again, Ms. Thomas and I will try to get together tomorrow to try to work on the final pieces based on the data that you've given us today with Union Pines. Are there questions about things? I'm just leaving the justification up just for you to look over. Are there questions that you have about what you see thus far with the justifications based on conversation? And truly we had 2 phenomenal days of conversation surrounding the books and getting our thoughts of what we thought as a committee. So again, Union Pines will look similar, but I want to give you a few minutes just to scan those and give us any feedback or direction we may need.
Donna, just a point on wording, and I may be inaccurate here. What we have voted is to support the school, the building levels recommendation to keep so we just want to word it that way. I think that we have voted to support the building levels recommendation.
Thank you.
And I also want to mention, I think this was a really tough decision for everyone on the committee. And we wanted to make sure, I mean, when we give the justification and comments, we wanted to make sure that we incorporated some of the concerns. So we didn't want to just give the justification for retaining the book in the collection. So as you're looking at this, please make sure that we've reflected both sides.
Anna, would it be, and Ms. Thomas, Ms. Gephardt, I apologize, Ms. Gephardt, Ms. Thomas, would it be inappropriate to also note that one of the concerns was the selection process at McDeed's? Not that they did it incorrectly in any way, but that it's different than the normal process that we would have for selection because it was a bulk buy. Just a thought.
Ms. Gephardt, you're recording. Anything to add, correct? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I support adding that. There is a significance there.
I agree. So once again, everybody will receive this and changes can be made when we meet on Tuesday. So this is not the last time that you will be looking at it, and you will be able to have a copy in front of you.
And I know a couple have reached out that they have a conflict. If you want to send me something in email, please feel free to do so. But we'd like as many of the committee here on Tuesday that can be here. I know it was short notice, and I apologize for that. Y'all are probably tired of getting emails from me today, but I greatly appreciate your flexibility to meet one more time, because we really want to make sure this report says what we as a committee want it to say.
Well, and this is the first time, if I'm not mistaken, this is really the first time a committee like this has met, and it's hard to determine how much time you'll need until you've gone through this process. So I really appreciate everybody's flexibility.
So Ms. Thomas, I think timeline, we will work diligently to make sure you get information tomorrow or Monday morning at the latest. That gives you a little bit of time to review the report. We have a meeting scheduled for 4 o'clock on March the 1st. And the purpose of that meeting will be to go through the report, making sure that we have the justification and comments reflected accurately based on the advice of this group.
If there are no other suggestions, questions, or comments, I think everybody can get out a little bit early.
Thank you all. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good evening.